All right, so let me begin by saying hello to all of my good trader friends or anybody who happened to stop by to watch today's video. I do hope you enjoy what I have prepared for you today, and I do promise you, you will find both education and entertainment with this video, so stick around. Now, before I get started, guys, make sure you remember tomorrow live here on YouTube, live streaming with Sylvia Bellrock at Technical Talk. It is 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We start live right here on YouTube. I'll put the link down in the, not the description box, the description box, comment section somewhere. I'll put it down there. You know where it is. Make sure you show up, bring your questions. We'll talk about the markets, we'll talk about commodities, we'll talk about crypto. We're going to talk about anything that you bring to the table. It's an open discussion, so make sure you attend that. If you need any additional help with your trading, visit tradewithdoug.com, and I'll be glad to help you the best way that I can. So what I want to talk about here today is the markets first, then we'll switch over and we'll talk about a couple of stock setups for tomorrow. And then we'll go ahead and talk about some micro caps at the end. Save the best for last. So today we got a couple of things we'll talk about the market. And there's a great lesson for all of you newer traders or those that are relatively new to technical analysis and understanding how markets work. Anytime that you come from a bloodbath day in anything, any asset, and you get a sell-off and you begin the following day with a gap down and more continued selling, normally, especially when it's market related, that signifies a short-term bottom because the exhaustingness gets, it finishes itself. Everybody gets exhausted with the selling because everybody who was going to sell has already sold. Because normally a situation like this and what we saw here in the markets is you're going into Friday and you got a handful of those traders and investors out there who are buying the dip thinking just randomly, well, it's oversold, it's got to bounce. And then you get up Monday morning or you see Sunday night futures and that's not what happens. You begin with a sell-off and they're like, I panic out of this. That was a bad idea. I take my losses. Then you got the other traders that were on the fence there going into Friday saying, well, I wonder if it's going to bounce. Oh, I don't know if it's going to bounce. I wonder if I should cut these positions. I wonder if I should take the losses. Okay, I'll give it one more day. Then they see the bloodbath start on Monday morning. They panic and they sell. Now, normally when you combine those two groups of people together, you go on for a good hour like it did today, actually a little bit longer than that, almost 2 hours. You're going to reach a point of exhaustion. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to go back to all-time highs here, or this is the beginning of a new rally. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't, but we still need some more data, some more evidence to give us the clues that that's going to happen. But today was a great opportunity to take advantage of a bounce trade. Now, it wasn't so much a great setup, I would say. Got pretty close into support back here on the 21st of December. The S&P got pretty close there, almost got down to it, so that was a good bouncing area here at 45.72. More importantly here, I think the NASDAQ actually closed. I want to check this, just double check this here once more. This was a very important area right here. I highlighted this in the market mutterings yesterday. Excuse me, let me lay my cursor down there. 15,500. You sunk below that, got down there pretty good, right? I mean, you got down here to 15,150s, but you rallied nicely here towards the end. Very, very volatile index right now, so it's not for everyone to trade at this moment, but a nice little pin bar, wick, inverted hammer, not inverted hammer, but hammer, whatever you want to call this in your technical analysis. Where do we go from here? Well, I would first look at all of these markets or any of the stocks that you're looking at and say, whatever the low was today, that's your line in the sand. So you're talking about down here. If you can hold this up, then maybe we see a couple of days rally. If this thing challenges this lower tomorrow and blows through it, then we're probably going to see a whole fresh round of cycling. Now, why cycling lower? Why would I say that? It's pretty simple. You have an opportunity here to run with it with the markets. You have an opportunity to run with this momentum and carry it in tomorrow. And if it doesn't, well, that's over. If you can get up above the previous day's high, which is up here, then possibly you have yourself a couple of day rally that can move us into 15.9s, and who knows, maybe we can actually squeeze 16 out of it. But again, remember, one day doesn't make a trend. Be patient. The entry that you're looking for will show up. Now, there's a lot of stocks out there that look decent. We've been talking about them. I have like this overstock on my radar here, waiting patiently for a bounce, but I don't see enough signal right here to do it. Shopify is another one that has a much better setup, a nice little rally here into the close. So there was a little bit of activity on some of these names, but not enough to where I was overly excited. Now, when it gets to a situation like this, I like to look at the indices first rather than individual stocks. Now, if you have something that's on your list that you really, really like, let's say you want to be an owner of Microsoft, you want to be an owner of Apple for a longer period of time, pullbacks like this are great opportunities to buy. If you're short-term trading, sometimes many of these things can be left behind. Example, BABA or a Peloton. You may buy that and it could be the last one to show up to a rally, if that. But the indices normally do the bouncing first or have more of the consistency. So I would like to, at least for the next couple of days, rather than trade individual stocks, unless I see something super dynamic, I want to go ahead and just stick with trading the indices, either the Qs or the ES. But I think you would find a lot of stocks out there in your portfolio or in your watch lists that match that. Several days of selling, multiple days of selling, followed by a really nice bounce today. I would build a watch list of those, put that together, and see if, like a DraftKings here, for example, picking up some momentum. Netflix, another one. There's going to be a lot of them that look like this. Pick your poison. If you can get some good pullbacks early and you see some solid holding, I think we got a good chance there to get some higher ups. So it will be determined. Now, let's talk about some cheapies. Let's talk about some micros. Where do you think we go? I didn't have any micros today. I didn't get any good shorts today. The one that I did like was BBLG. No shares. No shares for Douglas. I did not have any, so that was it. That was it. Now maybe, let me say fortunately, kind of crossing my fingers, careful what you wish for. Maybe tomorrow this one will rally up here a little bit. I'm more interested, if you guys are listening for the first time, I'm more interested in shorting these things. I'm not interested in buying them. I'm not saying that's the right way or wrong way to do something. It's just something I like for day trading. I love shorting these ramps and taking advantage of it. If that's not your thing, it's not your thing. I can make the case for both long and short here, although I don't feel as comfortable going long. But if it does get pretty aggressive, you probably could see 7 on this one tomorrow. You also have this BCRX. I wouldn't necessarily consider this a micro cap, but I'm interested in shorting this one too. Never really gave the setup here anywhere. You never got that enthusiastic ramp. It started here, but it didn't get out of control enough, and it just sort of grinded. And I'm just not a fan of shorting any sort of grinders intraday or anything like that. I just prefer to just short the ramps. Another one I'd want to look at here, let me see if I can pull some of these up. This ATEC, yeah, ATEC here, this one was pretty good too. You got a nice little ramp up here, but honestly, I missed this one. Fell asleep. Well, really didn't get the signal I was looking for, but maybe there's a day 2 on this one. IMMX, another one here, only giving an early morning opportunity, but I'm looking at sort of, let's say, closer to lunchtime type of an opportunity, but maybe tomorrow. Can't say here on this one too, guys, that this thing does have a tendency to get very, very parabolic, so sometimes it could in fact be a long, but not my thing. And then how about a little bit of ADMP? All of these still look decent, even though I didn't get the looks that I was looking for, because normally, to explain what I kind of like is you get this nice little ramp up here early. I like a pullback and then another ramp and like to short into that really excessive ramp that normally happens a couple hours after the market's already open. I don't like to go into the front side when you're just hitting into the first early morning momentum. Now, the reason that I covered that before in many of the courses when it comes just to general shorting, the most enthusiasm, the most euphoricness, if that's even a word, that you have is first thing in the morning, right? There's all these emotions, especially on a Monday morning. Everybody's got goals in their mind and they're just starting to throw darts and just jump into everything. And you have to be careful with these. If shorting is your game, you got to be careful with first day front side moves. And there's always this slogan, never short a strong stock in the morning. Be careful of them getting a little bit out of control on you. So I like to see those levels get tested a few times before I have the confidence to throw some money in short. So you got to be careful of those. That's what I look for. It really never got a setup today. So maybe day 2 tomorrow, some of these taper off some of their enthusiasm. I think it was BBLG, maybe IMMX. I think they actually did get halted on their first opening moves on circuit breakers. So you got to be careful if you're going to do that. You have to be patient with your entries, but that's what I'm looking for if that makes it a little easier on everyone else. So maybe if you guys want to watch these, if buying's your thing, if you get some moves over yesterday's highs early, then you have a chance for a second day run. And I'm not going to fault you if you want to short that route. But if you are, if you want to long that route. But if you do, just remember what you're buying here. These are not investments. These are trades. Govern yourself accordingly, I should say. I will stay patiently and wait for the short if they open up. So anyway, guys, first order of business, let's see if these markets can build on the momentum. We don't want to chase early morning momentum. We want to see whether it can be stable, because there's going to be a lot of people that want to chase this move. Let's see if it can stick. There's plenty of upside room if it wants to tack on a 2 to 3 day rally. I gave you a handful of names. You got things like Shop that looks pretty good. Maybe some DraftKings for a quick bounce. BCRX, BBLG, BBs, IMMX, and ADMP. And let's see where it goes. As always, if you want to keep up to date with these videos, subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon. I'd love to have you on board here. If I can be any help, send me an email to service@thelincolnlist.com. I'd be glad to just answer your questions. Take care, trade well, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.